later. So what this presentation is about is I'm going to show you a simple system that I use to figure out how to be excellent at the things I do in sport, health, work, life, and life in general. It's a system that I think anyone can use to ensure an exciting, healthy, and satisfying life that's full of challenges and success. And in fact, this I think is particularly valuable for teenagers and young adults. Now, there is essential reading, this book on mental fitness by Dr. Paul Wood. It is fabulous. It is a must read for everybody. It's a bestseller in New Zealand. It's just come out, but hang off getting a copy at the moment. I'm going to be talking to Paul, or I am talking to Paul about doing something special for you all. But I want you to read this book after we've done this webinar. It's really important to understand that while I might be focusing on sport, sport is being used as a metaphor for any area in life, any area that you might want to excel in. I've spent my entire life, since my earliest years, from about 12 or 13 years of age, I've been surrounded by exceptional high achievers. Here's my sister Lorraine. My other sister, Darwin. I'm come from a family of strong women, women who are great achievers, and gosh, I'm so proud of them. I've got 5 siblings, and I'm proud of them all. They're such amazing, amazing brothers and sisters to have. Darwin, a few years ago, was voted New Zealand's top scientist, and that's her receiving her award. She does things like float things around the Earth, taking all sorts of measurements and shooting things in and out of space. It's best to get her to explain what she does. And here's me back in the 1970s competing against John Walker shortly after he had broken the world mile record, sub 450. And this is Graham Struthers, another one of my heroes. And by the way, I came second in that race. I'm one of the only Kiwis to have ever beaten John Walker. Though it could be pointed out that John pulled out. But the way I see it is that when the gun goes, if you don't finish, you lose. Now, so the first lesson on all of this is surround yourself with high achievers. So here's my 3 children with Rod Dixon, and another absolutely amazing high achiever. Just a minute. I should have taken my phone out. Now, I don't know whether Rod has joined us tonight, but
yes,
Rod might
yes,
be
I'm
sitting
here.
in on this. You're here, Rod.
Gary.
Oh, there you are, Rod. Yeah, okay. Well, we are absolutely honoured, Grace, to have the amazing, fantastic Rod Dixon attending this. And Rod, I'm really proud of you. You're an amazing role model, not just for me, but for my children. You've had a huge influence on them. And folks, I am intending to invite Rod to do a session with us at some stage. We've got to get Rod on board and to talk about things like sugar and children's health. He's a real mover and shaker on this. So the next lesson, other than surrounding yourself with high achievers, is to put yourself on the line against people who are better than you. Now, I've spent my entire life trying not to come last. I've spent my entire life trying not to get lapped, but I kept doing it. I was always being beaten by my sisters. I've got a brother, my youngest brother. I've been trying all my life to beat him in a race, and I've never beaten him. I even turned up on his doorstep after I knew that he had had pneumonia, and he still beat me. But it's good lessons. I've learned so much from doing this. And here's my youngest son lining up, and look at him. All the others are looking down, sort of like, oh, I don't know whether I should be here. Look at him. He's keen to go, isn't he? Hey, he's the winner. And the next lesson is to concentrate on enjoying the journey rather than focusing on the destination. Enjoy it. Don't worry about whether you come first or last or anything like that. Just get out and enjoy it. But, however, there's always a problem, isn't there? To be the best, you've got to be born with a freakish talent or an unhealthy, obsessive personality in order to be a winner. That's what most of us think. However, there is another way, and it's open to everyone. And I'm going to share you with this. How did Gary Moller, who tries not to come last, ended up coming first? Now, this chart, this is probably the most important chart you're ever going to look at. Now, 80% of us, all of us, are probably in this area here. This is the chart which has the majority, and here is the bottom 10% and the best 10%. And here's your freakish winner, okay, the 1%. Here's your 1% here. Now, here's the thing which is really interesting, and what the mental exercise I did myself, I learned through basically years of basically getting my butt kicked, is that it actually is possible for all of us in several areas of life to get us into the top 10%. You may not be able to make the 1%. You've got to be a genetic freak or something to be up there. But all of us should be able to find areas in life where we can make the top 10%. So that's the first thing. By the way, if you're starting off down here, let's say you want to be the best indoor basketballer in the world. It might pay to be 6'10" or 7 foot tall for a start. Okay. And if you're 5'3", maybe you're not choosing the right thing to make the top 10% in, though you could be 5'3" and you could possibly get to be one of the best, but maybe not up in the 10%. So it's a case that you choose carefully. Now, here's the thing. Here's what it's all about. If you can make the top 10% in just 3 things, where they intersect is the 1%. That is where you can be the best. Got the idea? Now, an exercise, and this is where you can even start making a few notes right now. I want you to figure out what is your calling, what really presses your button. Start making a list. What are you good at already? And these can be the same as what you love doing, and they probably should be. What you're good at should be also, hopefully, what you love doing. And then you choose the top 3 to 4 by your judgment. And these become your main but not exclusive focus. Your goal is to make the top 10% in each one. And that should be achievable. And then you work on improving those that you're weak in and those that you're strong in. And you work on turning weaknesses into strengths. The other thing to do is to just be aware that the diamonds, the gems may be on the soles, under the soles of your feet. If you just lift them up and look and scratch, you might find a gem. Now, in my case, when I was in my 20s, I suffered a serious knee injury and required a couple of operations. Even walking was a problem. So in frustration, I went and bought a canoe and joined a canoe club and got into whitewater kayaking and went on all the kayaking expeditions and so on. And I got pretty good at kayaking. As my knee came right, kayaking was a very good bit of rehab, so long as I didn't fall out too often. And I took up cycling, and I joined the P&P Cycling Club and got involved in local cycle races. So I became good at cycling and canoeing. And then in the late 70s, somebody invented a sport called multisport, it was canoeing, biking, and running. over mountains and down rivers and so on. No flat stuff. And I entered. I was back running. And to my great surprise, I came second. And I came second behind Paul McDonald, who won, I think, about 6 gold medals in kayaking at various Olympics. So by being good at cycling, canoeing, and running, but not being the best, I was far from the best. There's no way I could have beaten somebody like Paul McDonald, but I was a better runner and a better cyclist. So by making the top 10% in all 3 disciplines, I excelled in multisports. And in fact, I finished on average in 3rd place for the next 5 years through to the mid 1980s when children came along and business things got in the way, and I had to basically give multisports sort of a bit of a break. But you can see the pattern is that you pick, and you don't necessarily have to be the best in anything. You just pick about 3 or maybe more, and you can be the best. Here's an example. My sister Lorraine, 4 times Olympic bronze medalist and winner of 16 international marathons, including the Boston Marathon. We could do a similar chart for Rod Dixon, couldn't we? That would be interesting. So Lorraine had three things going for her. She had raw talent, but she wasn't the best. She wasn't the fastest runner. Look, I ran with her from childhood. We ran around the block. We did all sorts of things, and I never thought there was anything special about Lorraine. But she did have raw talent. And one thing she sure has is determination. Talk about determined. And then on top of that, the real breakthrough for her is that she was introduced very early on to the Lydiard method of training and was put under the wings of John Davies, an Olympic bronze medalist and a fabulous coach, who sadly is no longer with us. So those 3 things went combined to turn a talented young girl from Potaru into an international champion. And by the way, 28 years of international ranking, which I still think is close to a world best for a running athlete. The Moller brothers, another example. As 60-year-olds, we have consistently been at the front of masters multisports racing for more than 10 years, though COVID's sort of killed that one. And on one occasion, we even beat the professionals. Now, why do we do so well? Okay, us old guys beating all the young guys. Big Bruce, he's one of the best masters paddlers. He's in the top 10%. In any field, he's in the top 10%. Myself, I'm in the top 10% in most fields. I'm riding A grade. I'm riding against the 20 and 30-year-olds nowadays. And Gordon, my brother, my youngest brother, the one I can't beat, and I'm still working on it. I don't know whether Gordon's tuned in on this, but he better not be listening here because he doesn't realize that I'm still trying to beat him. But anyway, this is Gordon winning the Upper Murray triathlon. Now, we got so far ahead of the field, including the pros, and it was a shocking day. And I think that's, when you've got experience, shocking conditions work in your favor. And Gordon got so far ahead at the finish that there's the banner you can see at the top there, that everybody was sheltering. They didn't realize we were coming in. They didn't realize that Gordon was the first athlete coming through. The cameras weren't there. They didn't have the tape. They had nobody was ready. They're all sheltering from the weather. And here's my brother. This masters team cleaning up races like this. So by making the 10% in those 3 disciplines, we've dominated masters multisports team racing and also been very competitive in the open grades. And that's by just simply the 10%, 10%, 10% gives you the 1%. Okay, now another example, a little bit different. This is my son-in-law, Dr. Paul Wood. And I've learned a lot from him. I'm going for a 2-hour run with him later. He likes getting beaten up, I think. Now, he spent most of his life as a young man in maximum security. And he became the first prisoner in New Zealand to graduate with a university degree, and later became a doctor in psychology. He's now one of the most sought after facilitators and speakers on topics such as mental toughness, resilience, and leadership. And he's a best-selling author, and his book's worth reading. Both of his books. His other book, his first book, How to Escape from Prison, is I would say every young person should read it. And by the way, they should read the mental resilience one. So how did he become so successful? And by the way, I'll put this in here. He's not a mountain biker, and but he's willing to give things a go. And that's a real attitude, I think, is that, you feel the fear and you do it. And here he is about to negotiate some tires, and he did some quite spectacular falls in this particular event. But he's a black belt in Taekwondo, so he's very good at judo. Sorry, judo. So he's very good at tumbling, which is a good skill to have. So Paul mastered 3 areas, more, but let's focus on, first of all, he became a doctor in psychology. His life behind bars gave him unique life experiences, and he developed his writing and public speaking skills. And by combining those 3, he's created a unique spot for himself in New Zealand, and in fact, in the world. And my gosh, talk about going from disaster to success. An amazing, wonderful role model for anybody. So, myself, last. How I won the UCI Mountain Bike Masters 2 times, and also the World Masters Games by a similar margin. At 55, I started to, when I was in my late 40s, I was really on the ropes. I was completely burned out. I was suffering from adrenal burnout. My doctor wanted to put me on steroids. I was seeing a cardiologist because I had an irregular heartbeat. I was so exhausted that at 49, I was saying to my partner, Alofa, that I couldn't go to work. And that was despite me being the boss of a business that had over 60 employees and over turnovers in the millions. And at 50, or just before 50, I basically gave the business away. I couldn't do it anymore. I was just so toasted. And then came home and basically became the house husband, did a bit of study, and Alofa went to work, and we lived off our savings and the sale of the business and so on. And by 55, I started to get my mojo back together, and that was by doing what I do nowadays for a living, the hair tissue testing and so on. And it started to get to me that I think I could be one of the best mountain bikers around. Mountain biking, I enjoyed mountain biking. That's one of the first things, if you're going to find what do you want to be good at, it's got to be something that you enjoy doing. You don't want to do something that's a drag. So I enjoyed mountain biking. It was fun. It was more fun than road cycling, for example, and safer. Would you believe it? We can talk about that another time. But I then started thinking, the mountain biking world championships, maybe I should get a go at it when I turn 60. And so I started to make sort of lists about what are the things that I need to be able to do. So aging and health related issues and old and new injuries, managing them. By the time you're 50, you're carrying a lot of old injuries, limiting things that limit performance, but also other things like cardiovascular disease, thyroid, adrenal, arthritis, dementia, all these things start rearing their ugly heads, diabetes, and so on. And these are areas, declining aerobic power, these sorts of things. This is the sort of stuff that I think I know better than anybody in the world about how to manage. So I saw those straight away. I'm in the top 10% for those things. And then skills, or the lack of it, and tactical race experience specific to mountain biking, and equipment. Now, the equipment is easy. You just have to throw money at it. Buy the best equipment and you're away. So I figured out what areas I needed to concentrate to develop and polish. And for several years, little by little, I just chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. And then at 60 years of age, entered my first World Mountain Bike Championships, which was in Norway. I went over there and I came last. I had a DNF. I came back to New Zealand with my tail between my legs. But here's the thing: even while I was still on the racetrack, even though I knew it was over, I was already scheming my return. And the next year I came back and I won by over 2 minutes. Oh, sorry, no, sorry. The next time I came back, I came second. And then the next time I won by over 2 minutes, and the next time I won by another 2 minutes. So it's the thing is, setbacks, yes, but hey, they're learning experiences. Now, so over that 5 or 6 years, and in fact, it took longer because I lacked the kind of experience at that level to really know how to, and also, hey, a big barrier for New Zealanders is traveling. Traveling all the way from New Zealand to a completely foreign country, the cost, and like when I went to the first World Champs, I was living in the back of a tiny little Renault van with my bicycle company, and and I didn't have any spare things. I didn't even have a spare tire. I had no equipment because I couldn't afford to bring it all over. It was so expensive. So you have those sorts of barriers. But so the only way to learn is go and do it, and make your mistakes, and then learn from them and plan. So what I did was I worked on all of these things, and I got myself pretty much into the top 10% with a few false starts into all of these areas, which gave me a real big sweet spot. And I'll tell you what, in the end, winning a 1 hour mountain bike race by over 2 minutes, that's a long way on a bicycle, I can tell you. When you're going at 15 to 20 kilometers an hour, that's a good win. Now, the other thing is each task can be broken down further and further. So what you do is you break them all down into subgroups, different tasks, and then later you pull them all together to become a whole, and they become a greater whole than what they were as individual units. So for example, mountain biking skills. You need to be able to climb steep hills, descend dangerous slopes, go over drops. You need to be airborne and so on. If you haven't watched the male and female Olympic mountain biking, go and do it. Watch the first 10 minutes of the men's race, and you will see what mountain biking consists of, and why it's so exciting, and why it's such a good challenge. By the way, being able to fall well is an essential skill. Being able to, and if you watch that mountain biking, you'll see Matthew van der Poel do a fall. Now, why is he a champion? It could be because he knows how to fall. If you look at how he fell beautifully and didn't break anything, whereas anybody else who did what he did would have probably ended up in a wheelchair. So this is how the skills side of things look. And again, in the skill side, I didn't have to be the best climber, the best descender. I didn't have to be the best over going through rock gardens and that sort of thing. I just had to make the top 10% in as many different things, and then I could beat with relative ease the best climber, the best descender, the best jumper, and so on. Because if they weren't good at these other skills, then I would have them. So just another point is that the more areas you can identify, the easier it is to make that 1% sweet spot, but keep it manageable. You don't have to be the best in you don't have to be the best in anything to be the best of the sum, the 1%. Okay, so the idea is, I would say you pick the three main ones. You can add a few others, and you can break some of those things down into subgroups as well. But generally, hey, you just need to be good at three. Think of Lorraine as an example. So this is what I want you to do, is to, as part of this exercise, because I want you all to succeed in life, to be the best you can possibly be. Write down your goals. They've got to be measurable and achievable. Anybody who's done planning and goal setting knows this stuff. Put in deadlines that fire you up. Now, it's like I was sitting on this presentation for several weeks. I'd done nothing with it. It was just sitting there, gathering dust, needing refinement. And I decided this time last week, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it 8 o'clock next Thursday. And screwed up all the times, of course, but it's good to see you all here. So what I did was I gave myself a deadline, which meant that I was just going to have to just go and do it, to stop doing procrastination. It's so easy to just put things off and put things off. So what I do nowadays, like I'm preparing for the next World Championships, which could be, for me, at least a couple of years away. I'm just not going to get out of the country the way things are going. But I'm ready at the drop of a hat to contest the World Championships. If I had to compete in them tomorrow, I'm ready. Now, the way that I keep the fires going is that at least every 3 months, I have some kind of deadline. I'll put a competition in front. I'll even create something, make something that means that tomorrow, even if I don't feel like going out and doing some training in that, I'm going to be thinking, oh gosh, I've got this competition coming up. Like in 3 weeks from now, we've got the New Zealand Cyclocross Championships, and so I'd better really pack the training in right now, because if I don't, I'm going to turn up and I'll get my butt kicked by the best New Zealanders. So the idea is you don't have deadlines that are too far out, and if what you're aiming for, which might be say a marathon or a half marathon 6 months or a year from now, that's too far away. You need to put in something that is 3 months away, which then prepares you for that marathon, so that you're that little bit better. You've got to keep that incentive going. Break the tasks up into subunits, and never give up. Be flexible and be prepared to change your focus and plans. You've got to, the thing about being excellent, being the best, to being a champion, is that you've got to be very flexible in your thinking. You've always got to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And if plan A looks like it's going to fail, you seamlessly switch to plan B or C, and so on. You never give up. And you've got to be daring, adventurous, creative, and smart. And if people say it's not going to work, it's one of my things my sister Darwin, the scientist, said to me, is that people are always saying to her, she's an engineer, and they'd say to her, no, won't work, impossible. And Darwin would go away and say, it's going to be possible. And that's what a good creative engineer does. And I actually like to think that in some ways I'm kind of an engineer myself. Now, we're going to move on to a slightly different subject. We're going to talk about resilience, because this is as part of this whole exercise, resilience is key to it. You see, life can be harsh and unforgiving at the best of times, and it's so easy for it to get you down. I want you to focus on growth, and facing and overcoming adversity is what builds resilience or growth. And by the way, this is my dad, who's no longer with us, sadly, and Lorraine. That's how Lorraine built the strength to be a world champion. Running those rocky trails in the central North Island. Now, I've been broke many times, but I've never been broken. I've had some terrible setbacks over my lifetime. Ones that even myself, I have agreed with the experts, the surgeons, that that's the end. You know, no more of this sort of thing. I've got enough metal in my left ankle to hold down a Wellington rooftop. And I did a very good job not long ago. I'm not going to focus on those gory photos, but I've certainly done some terrible damage to my body, to my, and anybody else would have given up. However, hey, rehabilitation, injury management, healing, resilience, that's how I make my living. So the first thing is, failure is your best teacher. People who avoid failure risk becoming failures. Turning adversity into disaster. So here I am with a broken leg, shattered. I'm in real trouble, and gosh, I can't describe the pain. It's the worst pain I've ever had. Now, I was lying there and thinking, do I start sobbing my eyes out? My career's over. I'm going to be lucky to be walking. I'm going to be arthritic, blah, blah, blah. Righto? When the first responder arrived and said, what can I do for you? I handed him my cell phone and I said, can you please take some photographs? Because what I did was I reframed the disaster into an opportunity. It became my opportunity to do what I'd been wanting to do for a long time, and that is to write an informative article about how to apply real first aid to ensure the least damage. You know, much of the damage after injury actually occurs after the injury through internal bleeding and swelling and so on, which compromises healing, compromises surgery and so on. And if you do it right, you can skip that entire stage of having to remove like congealed blood and swelling and secondary tissue death and so on. And it begins with the right first aid. You'll have to read my article. So it's about turning adversity into opportunity. Now, the other concept that I want to just cover is the Goldilocks zone, just right. It's a key idea for building mental and physical resilience. And when I'm talking about training, a lot of this you might see is actually physical training, but it applies equally well to mental training, mental toughness, mental resilience, flexibility, and so on. The idea of the Goldilocks zone is getting things just right, not too much, not too little, just right. And if any of you have done that hair tissue testing, you will understand that everything in the universe works within Goldilocks zones about balance, everything being within a very narrow area, which we call the Goldilocks zone, or the reference interval, or whatever we want to call it. Now, there are three phases of effective training. You've got catabolic, anabolic, and supercompensation. Catabolic is when you apply stress or stimulus and you temporarily decrease resilience. You break the body down, you deplete energy reserves, you deplete neurotransmitters, you cause fatigue. And that's a catabolic or breakdown. And and you can see it here in the red. And So during a workout, training, doing any kind of mental or physical exercise, there is a process of breakdown. And then your body recovers. During the recovery phase, it's what's called anabolic or building. And that's when your body repairs cells. It decides it's got to have a better reserve of neurotransmitters. Nerves rewire and get a little bit more efficient for neural patterns and so on. Muscles get stronger, bones lay down a bit more strong matrix and so on. And so you get this recovery period. And what is most important is the supercompensation phase, the phase where your body gets a little bit stronger or your mind a little bit stronger. And that's the supercompensation. And that will last for a period of time and will gradually wane. If there is a lack of adaptation, the avoider, the couch potato, the person who avoids stress, who doesn't put their toe on the line, decides it's too wet to go for a run, or I'd rather go and watch TV than go to the gym or whatever, or I'm not going to read my book and learn something. If the stressor is too light or too long, you do the stress, you get the supercompensation, and over a period of time, you basically stagnate. And then this is just basically the flatliner. This is very, very common. This is your physical and mental couch potato, the person who doesn't push body and mind. And here's your typical athlete today. This is probably the norm, or at least the ones who are not following the discipline of like the Lydiard program, for example. This is where somebody puts in too much catabolic, and before there is any ability for the anabolic or rebuilding, let alone supercompensation, the person then goes and adds in more stress, like trains hard every single day without recovery, or is in a job where it's unrelenting stress, and then they come home and they're in a stressful household, marital issues, ill children and financial problems. If it's stress, it ultimately, you end up being continuously in a catabolic state, and ultimately it will result in injury and burnout. And that's where I got. I burned the candle from my 20s right through to my 40s, and by the time I was 50, I was charcoal toast. I was a little bit like that donkey or this bloke who's coming up a bit short on the high jump. Yeah. Oh God. Never again, I'll tell you. Now, this is the ideal of how to embrace stress and how to get better, stronger, more resilient. And it's about optimizing the catabolic drop. So you do just the right amount, the Goldilocks zone of stress, so that you get the optimum drop to stimulate the optimum recovery. And then you make sure that you have the optimum period, not only to recover to where you were, but to grow a little bit stronger before you throw in the next bout of stress. And if you get it right, you keep getting better and better and better. And this applies as much to mental resilience as physical. So a really smart approach to getting better is the balance between stress, recovery, supercompensation, stress, recovery, supercompensation, and keeping it going. One thing which is we won't cover in this is that there is another big factor, and that is the importance of nutrition. And that what nutrition does is it increases the rate and the extent of the anabolic side of things. And also, by the way, the resistance to stress, if you get it right. But I don't want to give away all my secrets at once. So a few concluding remarks, just a few things. Um, do not hesitate. Planned adversity is what gives you growth. Feeling the fear, just doing it, putting yourself on the slat line, being prepared for blood, sweat, and tears. And being successful means being prepared to go outside your comfort zone. But here's the thing: you don't do it blindly. It's like going over a drop like this. You need to be prepared. You've got to practice. You break things down into their components before you do the whole thing. You just don't blindly launch yourself off a cliff or into some project that you have absolutely no idea, have no skills in. You've got to prepare first. But here's the thing. Once you've done your preparation, the worst thing you can do is get to the top of the slope and hesitate. That is not a good idea. What you do is when you're further back, you know what's coming up because you've prepared, you've scouted it, you've looked at it, you know what's there. And what you do is you come in and you take it with skill and with confidence, but you don't teeter in, hesitate at the top. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Just a minute. There we are. So my message to you now is to get going and be prepared to work at it harder and smarter, and I should say longer than anyone else. And you can see me here, plenty of blood, but hey, I won my age group in that race. Now, just one thing, especially if you're a New Zealander, I want you to take note of this. This to me was actually quite fun. I was quite amused by these things. So when I said I was going to have a go at the UCI Masters, people said things. I had these sorts of things like, "It is good to have ambitious goals, Gary, but you need to be more realistic." Now, what was that meaning? I've got to, I mean, I didn't argue with anybody. I just sort of said, oh, yeah, thank you. And a lot of people said to me, oh, big dreams, Gary. And aren't you a little bit too old to be doing this sort of thing? And people said, Gary, you have nothing more to prove. Enjoy your retirement. And the one I liked the most, which I would have been very happy to do, but is our walking group is meeting this Sunday. Why don't you join us? And I just, I was going to go out there and I was going to smash the mountain biking and that sort of thing. Look, I really do enjoy walking. I enjoy nosing and looking at gardens and that sort of thing. Yeah, wonderful. But I wasn't going to give up my dreams to be the mountain biking world champion. So you will get this. If you set yourself ambitious goals to be the best at something look, it's not better than anybody else. It's just being your best. If you're just concentrating on being your best, what more could be better? That's just fantastic, wonderful. One final example. How I made a different, unique area for myself. So I've got over 45, I think about 46, 47 years of full-time work in the health industry. My knowledge and experience in health is, I think it's enormous. When I look at all the things that I've done, the jobs, the places I've worked, and working that long full-time, I've got to have learned something. But I'm not that unique, although most of the people that started with me have now retired. But I also have training in exercise physiology and rehabilitation, and quite a unique background in that. Nobody's ever quite followed my path, so that's quite unique. And then at around about 54, 55 years of age, I was introduced to a unusual test called hair tissue mineral analysis. And when I started playing around with it, I started to see this actually fits beautifully with my training in things like biochemistry, chemistry and physics and human physiology. It actually seemed to be very applicable. And so I resolved that I was going to be one of the best practitioners in hair tissue mineral analysis, and that and nothing else. And in doing so, by combining it with these other two areas of rather unique or comprehensive experience, I am not the I'm not the world's greatest expert on hair tissue mineral analysis, for example, but when I combine it with these other three areas, I'm having so much success. The success for myself personally, it's been one of the main reasons why, by combining those skills, one of the main reasons why I'm able to do so well physically and mentally, despite age dragging on, but also for the people that come to me for help. I've got a unique set of skills. I'm in the 1%. There's nobody else like me. So that's another example. So in summary, we're finishing. Find your calling. What presses your buttons? Write it down. Think of your calling and at least two other things that you think you should be good at and write them down. Think about how these intersect in their unique way. This is your sweet spot. Now, here's the thing. You might even have to invent it. I showed you how I invented my own sweet spot for my professional side of my life. And also think of things that are significant weaknesses, such as public speaking and how these may be overcome. So one of the reasons why I'm doing this presentation is because it's forcing me to practice my public speaking skills, which I hope are improving. They are improving, they've got to be. And make yourself a plan, include a deadline, include a timetable with deadlines, and put your plan into action now. Don't hesitate. The worst thing you can do is have all these wonderful plans, but not do them. Now, one last thing, I'm just going to just fire this up, just for inspiration. Oops.
En troisième place et vainqueur de la médaille de bronze in third place and winner of the bronze medal. De la France, from France, Philippe Dumoulin. Mesdames et messieurs, Philippe Dumoulin. Et vainqueur de la médaille d'argent in second place and winner of the silver medal.
Oops, sorry about that.
From Italy, de l'Italie, Marcello Bartolozzi. Mesdames et messieurs, Marcello Bartolozzi.
So this is a very proud moment, which I want to share with you, and it just shows you the rewards that come from from smart planning, persistence, putting years into things, and becoming the world champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, Gary Moller. En l'honneur de notre gagnant, assistons à la levée des drapeaux, écoutons l'hymne national de la Nouvelle-Zélande. And now, ladies and gentlemen, in honor of our winner, let's hear the national anthem of New Zealand. Voici votre podium des championnats du monde.
So there we are. I will get out of this now. And that was a very proud moment. And for those who haven't, for our overseas people who haven't heard the New Zealand national anthem, it's very solemn. But I can tell you, it was still it's still great to hear that music and to be standing up there, and the reward of so many years of effort. Now I will let me just. Where am I? I just now need to. Where's the chat box? I just got to find that. Oh, where is it? There we are. So if you want to, you can enable your cameras if you like, and let's just have a look. Oh my gosh, Lorraine, you're there.
Hey, hi.
Oh, that's good. Hey, yeah. So here's my my lovely younger sister Lorraine, which was absolutely wonderful. Lorraine, it must be about 3 o'clock in the morning for you.
Yeah, it's 4 minutes to 3 a.m.
Yes. Yeah. Now,
I'm just getting going, Gary.
yeah. Now,
Gary's treating me for insomnia with his hair tissue analysis. It's not working yet, Gary.
Yeah. Now, I'm just looking. You know, really nice comments, by the way, folks. Now, does anybody have any questions or want to offer any observations just while we have you? Yeah, John, you were far away, John.
How are you, Gary?
Wonderful.
Good to see you. I thought you might be interested. There's a couple of books I just read today, came out on Elon Musk. But there was an interesting quote, is they were relating that people who are crazy enough to change the world, and they talk about combining a deep understanding of what they're doing and a passion connected to a higher mission and purpose. I just read this before I came on. I'll send you the article.
Yeah, and John, if you share that with me, I'll be able to. I'll put it into my blog as a follow-up article.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're dead right. I mean, it's not about. You know, I mentioned about finding your calling, the thing that sort of grabs you and makes you want to get up in the morning and go for it and so on. And if that's one of the things that all of us need to try and identify, is to find out what is our passion, what's our calling, and then having the guts and the determination to go for it. Is that right, John?
Yeah, and I mean, he's out of the box, obviously, but it's partly what you're saying. It's a really interesting read, just how pretty well every man and his dog told him this will be a failure, but he's obviously got some qualities about him that he can persist. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a common theme. You know, how many great entrepreneurs went through so many failures before they succeeded. And my partner's just reading Steve Jobs's autobiography, and you know, it's a common theme, and all of us have there's something where all of us have some area that we could really excel in, do incredibly well in, and it's a matter of figuring it out. And that's what I was covering here, is trying to put a kind of a system to it, especially for the younger ones, or people who are sort of like going, they've reached a point in life, which I've been at, where you sort of think, what the hell am I doing? You know, where am I going? You know, what's the point of it all? Yeah. Anybody else? Rod, well, I mean, we're honored to have, my God, talk about an achiever, eh? Rod Dixon.
Well, Gary, it's been very, very inspiring, this whole conversation and your each of your segments. Yeah, it's very much learn by doing, and
Yep.
it's incredible. And of course, to see Lorraine at so early in the morning for you, Lorraine, or so late at night, just very odd. But this will gather momentum. What you've said tonight is so appropriate for so many people, and I think it's a very, very appropriate for youth, for high schoolers and college athletes and participants to be in on this. So hopefully this is available for schools to show the students. Very good, Gary.
Well, Rod, I want to get you on at some stage to talk about what you're doing with young people, your kids marathon, the concept behind it, and so on. And I've definitely got you on my list, Rod.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Well, certainly
Yeah,
that's and Lorraine, of course, is very, very much the author of the Kids Marathon certification program, and understanding what we've got to get kids moving. We've got to keep kids and don't sit down and keep quiet, and sugar free. That's the mission.
Rod, we'll have a session on just sugar. We just need to do one about sugar.
Yes.
and the destruction that it is causing to society.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, we've definitely got to do that. Yes. Yeah. And anybody else? Do we have here's your opportunity, and you don't have to ask me questions. You've got like Lorraine and Rod there, and here's your opportunity, folks. You can ask them anything you like. Come on, Megan.
Kia ora, Gary. Thanks for the talk. That was good fun. And you did get better at public speaking, even just in the last hour, from the start to the end of it. So on that note, just a little kudos for that.
Thank you.
Something about where we were going at the end there reminds me of something which I think it's something you understand, but I feel like I wanted to hear a little more of it in there, which is you were saying that it's not about being better than the other people, which makes me think there's sort of two ways of being the best, right? There's the honest way, whatever that might be, and then there's all the infinite possible ways of cheating. And I feel like distinguishing between those two possible ways of being the best belongs quite early on in the process that we're going through to decide what we might choose to be the best in. I mean, in the case of sports, maybe cheating is taking steroids or some banned substance to make you better than the other people. But every field has its own form of cheating, some way of using dishonest means, maybe oppressing other people for personal gain, I feel like I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the choosing the honest path, as well as choosing, wanting to be the best as part of that. I think it's something you understand anyway. I just wanted to throw that out.
Oh, look, I've written quite a lot about like cheating in sport. I've stuck my neck out quite a lot on that subject, and it's we could have a webinar just on the whole issue of ethics, the ethics of being the best. And I think again, the 1 hour is not very long, but 1 hour is long enough for most people. So I think you're dead right, Megan. This could be a topic. And by the way, we've got Lorraine, we've got Rod. There's a couple of people straight away who have chosen the honest path. okay? And they have spent their entire careers coming up against the ones who have taken shortcuts, been a bit unethical, you know, and that might be just, you know, the horrible person who throws the shoe over the over the wall so that you haven't got your shoes for your race, or you know, I mean, there's all sorts of things, but the whole ethics of you know, an honest victory versus a hollow one. I think this would be a great session to have, and we've got some very good people here, and it also raises even the whole issue for women, you know, gender issues in sport and so on. But it's interesting, by the way, Megan, to see that one of our Australian drugs cheats has just been jailed for trying to import $200 million worth of, I think it's cocaine. You know, Nathan Bagley, the canoeist who got pinged for drugs cheating about, I think at the Athens Olympics. And lo and behold, he pops up. You know, it's really interesting to see how lack of ethics in one area spills over into others. And yeah.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that, because
Please.
you know, when you come up against cheats, and especially at top level sport, and I'd know some people were cheating, and when I knew they were, first of all, you know that their career is going to be short-lived, because to be really excellent at something, you have to have all systems going, and it's a total mind, body, spirit thing, and you're not going to last as a cheat. It will take you down, and so they wouldn't be around for the long term. And the thing is that you can do everything you need to do. As human beings, we're actually incredibly more, we have potential to do things that we probably haven't been dreamed of. We haven't dreamed of at this particular time, but I think we're coming into a time where we're going to realize, man, we can do so much better. And I think one of the biggest things is that we tend to think of ourselves as individuals and separate, and we don't see ourselves as a whole human race. And I think because of that separateness, we don't see how everyone has a unique talent and they have a place to put it. And when we just work towards being excellent in whatever area it is, we're doing a favor, not for ourselves, but for everybody. There's a spillover effect. There's a vibration that you've put out into the field that other people can pick up on. And we do, as human beings, do that. We actually don't see it because we have such a myopic view, but we are evolving as a species. And at this point in time, it is really important that people not hide their light and their talents, and really, like, you know, do what you love to do. But we got so much of this misery sort of, you know, can't do this, can't do that, you know. We all walk around, you know, people think there's something wrong with them all the time. There's nothing wrong with you. We're alive, you know, at this moment, everything is perfect. And to remember that, you know, one of my hardest races, and I really, like, I was 41 and I wanted to qualify for the Olympics one more time, and I was in the Boston Marathon, and I had an incredibly sore foot, and I was like, and I wanted to go so badly, and I knew, you know, if I don't pull this one off, that's the end of it for me. And I wanted to have one more shot at it. And it was just the mental fortitude that I had learned from just focusing and doing this thing that I really love to do for years and years and years, that I was able to get in this race. And every step I'd say, are you okay in this moment? Can you go another step? And I went, yes, I can. And I did that over and over until I got to the finish. And it was painful, but I made the team and I got to have my last Olympics, which wasn't in outer terms my most successful one, but in inner terms it was incredible. I mean, just the things that I learned about myself. And that's what we're in this life for. I mean, if it's not to learn the true nature of who you really are and start to incorporate a bigger view of ourselves as human beings, you know, because most of us are so caught in the movie theater that we can't see it. It's like, you know, people, they're afraid of what's going to happen when they die, you know. Well, that's one of the only real certainties in life. And, you know, you might as well just have a really good time, make yourself happy and die a happy life, and know that it's a pay it forward proposition. You know, we're just a cell in humanity and there's new ones coming through, and as well as we do is what sets it up for the next generation. And we have to get in there and do it. You know, we're all called upon it these days, because, man, they'll suffocate people with fear. And it's happening all over the world. And yet, you know, people are a little bit slow, but they're starting to come into sort of looking at, okay, what's going on and what is required of me? What is required of you in life? Only to be the best that you can be. You know, to get in and share your talents and your skills and develop them and, you know, put them into the pot. And if we all do that, man, it's fantastic. As human beings, we can do absolutely incredible things. And you don't need just a bunch of selfish, greedy people at the top who want your energy and want the real estate of your mind, you know. Don't give it to them. You know, just, you know, to heck with it. Anyway, that's my
Right.
little bit at 3:11 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, you can see, as Megan says, the age of Aquarius is upon us. You can see, you can gather, folks, that what I said about being surrounded by people who create a challenge, people who are in themselves high achievers, and that is, especially for the young people who are listening tonight, is to that's one of the best things you can do, is identify people around you who are doing well in life, and basically surround yourself with them, and keep away from the negative influences, or ignore them. Let them brush over your head. Don't let it get inside. That's certainly, I've been so blessed to have people like Lorraine around me, you know, pulling me along, and
vice
people like,
versa.
yeah, it's been well, yes, well, look, it's synergy, isn't it? You feed off each other, and one and one doesn't make two, it makes four. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful, Gary.
Very well said, Lorraine.
Yeah. Oh, look, if I could tell people one thing, is that, you know, like, your body is absolutely amazing, and it is doing whatever it needs to do to keep you in the game. And you can make all sorts of mistakes and your body will compensate for it. But, you know, Gary can help you to, if you sort of you need shoring up on one side, you know, he's really good at helping you to do that. And also, Gary, I'd just like to tell anybody, if they want to come to and learn about how the body really works in training, they can come to our Lydiard course, and I think Gary puts it out every now and then, and it just gives a different model of how things really work. So it's based on the Lydiard method, but and a lot of Lorraine, who goes way out of the box.
Yeah, Lorraine has taken this training theory to the next level. And look, if you're just wanting to be fit and healthy, it's not about whether or not you want to win the Olympics. you saw some of the slides that Lorraine has produced that I used in this presentation tonight. And that's part of Lorraine's program. And I can't recommend it more highly. And so many of the ideas transfer into other areas of life. It's not just about like running or cycling or, getting big muscles or whatever. It's about building strong, resilient human beings. And it's just fabulous. Megan, were you going to say something? Oh, I thought you were indicating you wanted to
No,
say
this
something.
it's a Zoom expression. It's a very last year expression. It's like jazz hands, as in an equivalent of clapping when we can't hear each other, but maybe can see each other. Thanks for your share, Lorraine. I enjoyed listening to your thoughts.
Thanks,
Pleased
Megan.
to have triggered them, whatever way I may have contributed.
Good.
Anybody else want to contribute? Otherwise, I think we should wind up because we've got a few people who need to get their Betty buys. Yeah.
I'm all fired up now, Gary.
Lorraine, yeah, hey, one of the classic signs of adrenal fatigue is, okay, so dead tired during the day. They may have spurts of energy. They come to the evening and they fall asleep in front of the TV before dinner, and dead as anything. They go to bed absolutely dead tired. They lie in bed and they go, oh my God, this is so good. And then next thing you know, within an hour, they're restless. They're tossing and turning. And these are the people who get a little burst of adrenaline at around about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I know them because they're the ones who write emails to me. And that goes sort of like, Gary, I've just been thinking. And I look at the timestamp and I see it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And that means, aha, adrenal fatigue.
Oh, Gary, I would have been asleep by now if I hadn't got an invitation from you to come.
Well, yeah. And Lorraine, and I provoked you with, you've, well, it might have been Megan who got you going. Okay. It might be her fault. Right. But
I get very excited.
You can see, Lorraine, these sorts of subjects. I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge and experience, and we've got to get more of it from you, Lorraine. Okay, so given that this has been successful, good attendance, we need to do more and pick a few more subjects and get the word out there and so on.
Rod, I'm sure some of those slides that Gary had made you wince a little bit, right?
No, they were great slides.
The ones that are coming off the mountain bike.
Oh, yeah, certainly the accident ones. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Rod's in recovery mode at the moment. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Robert,
feeling good?
Are you going to say? Oh yeah. How are you, Rod? You're recovering. Though.
I'm about a 5.
Yeah.
Out of what? 5?
No, I think I'm about halfway. But I'm going to give you a call, Gary. I think I'm taking care of the outside, and you're going to take care of the inside.
Yeah. Good on you. Yeah. Robert, were you going to say something? We've got Robert here.
I just had a comment a bit earlier about Megan's with her jazz hands. It was just that's no, Matt, from the primary school. That's the sign language for clapping. So it's just come across into sort of dare I say everyday language, so to speak. But it's good to see a bit of use of the deaf language in an appropriate forum, basically.
Yeah, Robert's I've been sort of Robert and I have been following each other in mountain biking circles for quite a few years now, and his daughter Lara is a real go-getter. Reminds me a bit of you, Lorraine, in your early years. Yeah, but yeah, Lara's a a great role model for other girls.
And she was watching earlier on, but I think it's yeah, past time that she needs to be off. So yeah, she needs her sleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's always good to be able to. We've got the spring series coming up, so I'll be able to pull you aside and talk to you a bit more in person, Gary.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think yeah, Lorraine, were you just going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, thanks. It's nice to see you, Arthur, and it's probably like 5 a.m. for you.
5 a.m.
But we have an
Okay,
international
there
audience.
you go. You beat me. All right. Anyway, lovely to see everyone, and really wonderful delivery, Gary. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for the,
really nice stuff.
it's good to get the endorsement from my my famous sister. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So I will stop the recording. I'll post this recording on YouTube and then on my